Ready?
You ready? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Jesus Christ. Oh, this is so rock and roll. This is exactly how I envisioned when me and you were teenagers and we were ever going to talk about this movie. That is exactly how I pictured you starting the conversation. Oh, I've got a cramp in my leg.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Hello and welcome to another episode of Talk Nerdy to Me. I'm Jay.
Gaz.
That took a while. And we are reviewing in full spoiler detail The Dirt, the Motley Crue biopic that went straight onto Netflix. It's been out for about a week now, and Gaz and I are massive Motley Crue fans to the point of I've got Nikki Sixx tattooed.
The Dirt is our Bible, basically.
Yeah. It's one of how much. I mean, how many books have you ever read, Gaz?
Well, let's see. There was The Dirt, and there's the Heroin Diaries, and then there's Tommy Lee's The Ride.
And I think have you also read? I think the only other books I can think that you've read is an Alan Partridge one.
Oh yes, yeah. That was I Partridge.
There you go.
Correct. I've read. I do read like more like rock biopics usually. Like obviously I've read Keith Richards one. I don't tend to read fiction. You see, that's all.
Right.
I have enough stories in my own mind. You see.
Okay. So this has been built up for some time in our heads, which possibly could have been a hindrance, but
yeah, I think the thing is what we read The Dirt probably around 16, 17-ish, I guess. I don't know.
I was in college.
Exactly. And you're thinking there's always been a rumour of this film and it never seemed to come to light. Until probably someone showed me the trailer for this and I went, oh, they actually made it this time.
Yeah, exactly. I think Douglas Booth, who was played Nikki Sixx in this, he admitted he had been cast to play Tommy for about 8 years. He said he was just told you'll be Tommy, and then apparently they came up to him nearer, obviously this, and going, we've not got a Nikki actually, and we think you'd be better. I mean, I don't really see him. I don't see him as Tommy. I would have looked at him and thought Nikki. I don't know why he was cast as Tommy. He's pretty short as well, so I would have thought that would have been really weird having him as Tommy. But anyway, so we're going to talk in full spoiler detail about this film. If you've not seen it, go watch it, then come back. And if you've read the book, you know we might spoil some bits in the book as well here. So if you've not read the book, you might want to read the book before listening to us. But I don't know. It probably doesn't matter that much.
No,
I'm probably overthinking it.
Yeah, probably. Like I don't. I don't know because obviously I've not read the book. But if I
read the book.
Even if I watch, you know what I mean. I've not read the book.
You have read the book.
I'm saying like that. Triple negative was that? I don't know. Oh. But what I mean is, if I watched this film and I hadn't read the book, right?
Yeah.
I'd still probably found reading the book and seeing it like played out a lot more in detail. So I don't think it is spoiling. I don't think the movie spoils the book. So
no, I know, yeah, that's what I mean.
Talking about the movie that doesn't spoil a book.
No, I'm saying we might spoil the book. Talking about
spoil the book, Inception.
For fuck's sake. Right. Anyway, so initial thoughts, Gaz, on The Dirt, the biopic about the world's most dangerous band, Motley Crue.
Well, what I will say is, it wasn't the world's most dangerous film. So, you're talking about the world's most dangerous band, the band we completely love and adore for them being, these party animals and like having co-music. And the co-music was definitely evident, but I just don't feel there was enough character throughout most of it to really give us that Motley Crue sense of things. There was snippets of it, don't get me wrong, like the way it was shot was very, very fast. So things moved incredibly quickly, and they tried to tie in bits and bobs where, like, it was just them, say, doing something stupid in like a backstage area or in a hotel. But it just moved so fast. I don't think any of the characters, and considering how much depth a lot of Motley Crue members have, it just felt like it skimmed everything.
Like it was an
slightly
injustice to them.
But I actually did enjoy it on the back.
Yeah.
as odd as it sounds that I'm disappointed, I did actually enjoy it. I probably would watch it again.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how you say how it felt like it was fast and skimmed. It comes in at just under 2 hours long, but it didn't feel like 2 hours, but not in a good way either. I felt like I was left afterwards thinking, I feel like a lot has been missed out. And I mean you, by the way, for anyone who's listening who normally listens to us, we normally don't speak about the film until we talk, but we were watching it with our mates, and it would have been weird to not talk about it a bit.
Yeah.
But the first thing that we said was, are we, because we've read the book, our expectations so much higher that you actually said cleverly, they could have included 90% of stuff and we would have been annoyed at the 10% they would have left out.
Yeah.
We would always say there's something missing.
I do feel like this is the type of film that maybe, and it's odd because, like, I have seen a few comments under when Crew have obviously, like, shared it out saying, the movie's out now, blah, blah, blah. And, you're going to get the people underneath going, oh, it's amazing, guys, and all this. And I just wonder how most of, like, the core Motley Crue fans feel about it, because certainly it did feel like, if you've read the book and you know a bit about them, it felt like a very, like, Motley Crue light film. That's almost like, I think in a strange way it would have worked better as like a 4-part series.
Yeah, definitely.
But then, do they warrant that? This is obviously because we're big fans. We're thinking like, it would have been amazing if they'd have done like a 4-part series and it was a lot more in depth about like each album. But would they have got that? I don't necessarily think they would have.
It's so funny you say that, because I mean, I realised when looking back at it, I went round to mum and dad's because they were away, and I've left my vinyls there, so I went to pick up my vinyls, and I'm flicking through all my vinyls and that, and then I realised they didn't even touch on the Girls, Girls, Girls album.
No, they didn't. It went from Theatre of Pain to Dr. Feelgood.
Why the fuck? Where did Girls, Girls, Girls go? Huge album.
The only mention of Girls, 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 actually, well, the song played and it had the girl mud wrestling.
Oh yeah, but that's still that's early on.
But it didn't actually mention that album, which I just thought that this is the problem with it for me, and its biggest problem is it either expected everyone to know a lot more. Then, I mean, obviously, no, they're either playing to the really dumb who don't know who Motley Crue are, or ones who just know everything, so you'd be able to patch it all together.
But then if you know everything, it just pisses you off that they're missing stuff out.
It's weird. I don't know. It just didn't.
Well, let's...
Like, even some of the key bits, like, for me, were so skimmed past. I mean, it just didn't feel like it ever settled. It just went bang, Here you go. And obviously because of that, I did feel like a lot of the development of the characters, I mean, if you didn't know who Motley Crue were, I don't think you're going to come out of that and think, I want to know more about them, which is quite sad.
I know. I feel like everyone's was left at being like, Vince was the most developed character. I actually think he was focused on a lot, but I felt like Nikki was. It kind of just went, oh, and Nikki's got a heroin problem, and then left it was that.
Yeah.
And then never went really into Tommy's problems with the media. It just went, oh, he got caught hanging out with a porn star, and Heather what's his name, left him. That was it. And then Mick, it only mentions his ankylosing spondylitis when he's like at the very beginning. That's it. It never talks about everything else he's gone through with that. So it was, I know what you mean. It skimmed, and I just felt like these characters were, I think it makes them look terrible. I think they look like really like shit human beings. But if you knew them a bit deeper, you'd know that they are the products of their own environment, and the environment was mental. Like, I mean, this inspired Eve to read The Dirt. It's been sitting there, and I told her, she was like, I'm curious about, she really thought she wanted to know loads about Mick. She thought Mick was the most interesting character, but she said it was partly because nothing was ever said about him, and he has a mystique about him in the film. So I've given her the book, and the first thing she came up to me about a few days later, she went, why did you not mention that Richard fucking Pryor was like Nicky's stepdad for like a good year?
It was very odd. Like, do you know when you just think about, like, it literally felt like with every single character, it had two sides to it, but they weren't particularly well told. So, you know, at first Vince was portrayed as the womanizer, and then suddenly it was just, well, he was the guy suffering because Razzle died and his daughter died. That was literally his arc. Tommy was, obviously, his arc was, I think, probably the worst, but I think his storyline was actually the worst done, but it was actually the best played, which is quite sad.
Yeah, with you on that. Totally with you on that.
And yeah, I mean, as you say, Nicky Six, it was literally like, oh, so he's a heroin addict now, and now he's not a heroin addict. He went to rehab, and that was it. It wasn't like, it just felt so odd all the way through.
It is weird, but in the book, I did just have a flick through. In the book, it does just jump to him saying, I'd started taking heroin. It does do that, but because there's so much built up with how he has such a troubled childhood, like it really, like there's the first few chapters, everyone's first few chapters are more about the forming of the band. Nicky's first few chapters are really focused on his childhood and how he was moved from school to school to school between his grandparents, his mum, he was homeless for a while and all this, so that when it goes to him taking drugs and drinking from an extremely early age, it's kind of like, that's when it's sad then. And then the heroin thing seems like it just goes, oh, now I'm taking heroin, which is a bit of a jump, but not unexpected and even sadder. With this, it just seemed like he had a bit of a shit childhood, but the band made him have a load of fun. He got to have drugs, got to meet a load of girls. So he's happy. He looked happy. And I kept thinking, why is he being portrayed as being a happy guy? Because he fucking wasn't. And then all of a sudden, it just goes, because it goes to theater of pain. Oh, he's on heroin. And it was weird. It was weird even for me.
I don't know. I mean, we could probably go on for quite some time about what they left out. Some that's probably our biggest bugbear. But we're saying we liked it to a certain extent, so it can't have been all bad. So, what was it that you liked about it?
Well, you mentioned him already. I like Machine Gun Kelly. I really like Machine Gun Kelly as Tommy Lee. There was just Tom on our mate Tom, who was with us at the time on the train, said the problem I've got with Machine Gun Kelly playing him is I follow Machine Gun Kelly since his first album, so I think I'm going to find it hard to not see Machine Gun Kelly. And I agree, because I've known Machine Gun Kelly for quite a while as well. As soon as he kind of like, he was in that bar, in that cafe, and he spanned the stick and hit the newspaper and went, what about that guy? I was like, holy shit, that's Tommy.
He had the right mannerism all the way through as well. I think he genuinely nailed that performance, because you saw so much of Tommy just going, hey, dude,
And even the later years when he had the short hair. The short hair and the long sleeve he's a bit older and he's still got a little bit of energy in him. It was really believable that was Tommy Lee right there. And I totally bought that. and I think the other guy, Ian, I can't pronounce his name, Ian Rion, who played Mick Mars.
The guy from Game of Thrones, if we've got that wrong.
I struggle to picture anyone playing Mick Mars because he is a bit of a mystery and an enigma, even in the book. And as a person, interviews, he's dead quiet. And I think he captured that dead well, just being like dead. He just stayed dead quiet and just was grumpy enough sounding to be Mick Mars and just got Eve interested in him.
Yeah, I thought Machine Gun as Tommy was the best one, but I actually quite liked all of them as who they were. I thought the guy who did Vince was actually quite good.
Oh no,
no! The only thing I thought was that not enough was done with any of them around it. So, because I don't know, it's just weird. The only thing I thought that was dead weird about the Vince one, and I would say his was probably the worst portrayed, is that he didn't really change other than they basically drew him a really poor child stubble when he was like a down and out drunk. It proper looked like, when someone wants, like when they're like 14 and they draw a beard on themselves to go and get booze down the shop. Yeah. That's what he looked like. It was like, what are these pubes you've sellotaped to his fucking face?
Yeah, now this was an issue for me. This is why I had no problem with when it showed Tommy being older. I was like, that looks like Tommy. But the hair and makeup department left something to be desired. Like, there was plenty of times when Douglas Booth is like as Nicky, and I'm going, where can I buy that Nicky wig? Like, when he had the little welcome mat to the face, I used to have. His one just looks proper stuck on. But oh no, Vince really was not convincing at all. I mean, for starters, what's his name? Daniel Webber. He's been excellent in some other things I've watched. Like, he's played like a racist policeman in this thing I watched, and he was terrifying. In this, I just felt like it was one of those public access shows where they're doing the real story of Motley Crue, and he felt like that kind of actor in it. Like when he was getting upset over his daughter dying, I didn't feel it. I just didn't feel the thing. It was he didn't look like Vince either. I think, was it you or Tom said he was too ugly to be Vince? And I'm sorry, he was. One of the things about Vince was he looked like a girl. He's the reason that Aerosmith wrote the song "Dude Looks Like a Lady." He looked like a pretty girl, and
he was the quintessential lady boy, wasn't he? Like, certainly back in the original days.
I mean, they got Vince just completely wrong for me, but they nailed their Ozzy Osbourne, who was totally underused.
I mean, you almost feel cheated that he was only in one scene because of how good it was. And obviously that was always going to be the case, I think. But yeah, the guy, I mean, I don't know who was playing Ozzy, but he did nail that scene. I think if there's one scene that's going to come out of this film, it'll be that one everyone talks about.
Where was I'm trying to remember the name of the director. I'm trying to find it, but there you go, Jeff Tremaine.
Jeff Tremaine from Jackass fame.
Yeah, so I felt this was very much a Jackass film because the way you said it was so fast paced and moved, it was like sketch by sketch by sketch. You know, like this is the party scene. This is going to be the Tommy's overview scene, but he didn't like scene. He did it by sketch. Like, just we'll get this done, and then there was, like you said, wasn't any moment where they just settled really in the moment, unless it really called for it, like Razzle dying in the car or something like that. But
and I think it's a shame, really, because I think he got some parts bang on with the way he did it. Like, there was the bit where it does Tommy's version of events for a day.
Yeah, that was boss like Prodigy.
That was fantastic, and it felt like Tommy Lee telling you as well. It felt very much, and in the rhythm of the actual Dirt book, it felt like it was Tommy's bit in the book. Going, woke up 6 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. And then it obviously does him being handcuffed to the bed. That bit was amazing. I actually thought, oh, you absolutely just nailed Tommy Lee.
What was really annoying for me was a bit of an inconsistency, but they did it really where they treated the film like the book, so broke the fourth wall a bit. I liked it when they did it, but they didn't do it enough. Like remotely, like that bit where the manager Zoothouse goes, "Oh, this other guy, he was meant to be in it, but he's not going to be in it." Or he goes, "I wasn't actually there." Or Tommy goes, "Finally, I get to speak in this fucking film." I liked that, but it seems like after the Ozzy Osbourne scene, they just stopped doing that altogether.
Yeah, a bit.
And they should have continued doing that. Made me really feel like okay, it is a fast journey, but you're taking me with you. But after that, it just felt like it's a fast journey, like someone's showing you all their photos of their holiday dead quickly. It was just
that's the thing that pains me the most is it almost did feel like you were just skimming your way through the book, and not in a good way. Like, I don't know, like the more I talk about it, the more I can feel myself going, God, did I actually enjoy it as much as I think? Maybe it's just the music pumped me up so much that I really enjoyed it. But
the thing is, as well, is what I can say off the top of my head, there's been lists going around the internet. I haven't clicked on them because I didn't want to ruin the film, but there was lists I saw saying 10 things that the Dirt film has missed out. But it's only through like sitting and talking with Eve about the book she's going to read that I realize I've made my own like list in my head as well. Like it missed out Tommy marrying Pamela, Tommy and Pamela's sex tape, the birth of any of their children other than Skylar, the time when Tommy left and they had Rob Castillo as the drummer, Rob Castillo getting cancer and fucking dying.
Yeah, it did. It was.
Listen to you get you just feel it.
Right? But we're saying, oh well, it missed out bits. It missed out at least 10 years after Vince came back into the band.
Yeah.
And like, obviously, you're talking like obviously. In fact, it might even be longer.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't even do Generation Swine, which I think Generation Swine was 1997.
Yeah.
Maybe? Let me have a look.
It almost felt like they were going, and now we're up to date. Well, no, we're not up to date. You've literally just ended in 1992.
97,
and then gone, and by the way, we're Motley Crue. And it was like, what? You just missed the last 2 decades?
I know. It jumped. I said that as soon as they started walking down the hall, like looking how they are. I said to you, and that's how they looked when we saw them the very first time. I mean, so that's implying that's the 2006 tour. Yeah. And so where has easily 10 plus years gone? And then it just goes, Motley Crue carried on playing for 20 years. It's like, hold on, you just missed out 20 years of stuff. Maybe even 25. It's, God.
They could have done so much more with that as well. Because didn't the girl drummer play for a bit as well?
Yeah, so they got the drummer from Hull, who ended up having an affair with Nikki, and Nikki's marriage fell apart because of it.
Do you know when you just think, like, what were they thinking with that last scene? As if everything was rounded up.
I think that I wouldn't have minded if they gestated and stayed in one era. Like, the formation of the band was a longer, or the the 80s themselves. If it was
similar to what Queen did with their one, if you think about it.
What?
It's similar to how Queen did it, essentially. They built up to Live Aid, and then when everyone now knows what happened after Live Aid, but this is basically the climax of the film, is them playing Live Aid. If they'd have done something like that and then said, and, you know, obviously we're just going to focus on that one part of the movie, have a few flashbacks, do you get what I mean? And then build it up. I wouldn't have been half as pissed off, but they didn't. It almost felt like they said, we're done here. We're not done here.
It's like we went, we ran out of money.
Yeah. It's so weird.
You want weird? For me, the weirdest thing was Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson playing that fucking that manager. So that Saturday Night Live guy. He's he just he doesn't they didn't age him at all. So it shows him like meeting them in like 1981, and then it goes to like when they're touring the Motley Crue with the different singer tour, which with what was a different singer called? Oh shit, I'll get back to that. But it showed
that was in it.
That's 1994. So it's
John
been like
Corabi is the man.
John Corabi, yes, John Corabi. So John Corabi, which as well, you were getting annoyed just with that bit, going, why is he not speaking? Why is he not giving him any lines?
I forgot about that. It was the weirdest. If you're going to include one of them, he must talk. They had 2 scenes, and granted, he isn't a big part overall in Motley Crue history. But if you're going to put him in the film, he has to speak.
Yeah, I'm with you on
that. It was
that.
so bizarre. He just literally sat like a little mouse on one scene where they had the press interview. And then was there like one other scene where it's just him walking with them?
Yeah, he's walking to go on stage. No, that's the thing. They like Tommy and Nikki are looking out at the crowd, and the arena's only half full, and there's people with Vin signs, and while they're looking worried, John Corabi runs out on stage with this biggest grin on his face, like, yeah! he wouldn't have been happy. He would have been there going, guys, what the fuck is going on? And that's the other thing. Tommy fired John Corabi because the others didn't have the balls to do it. And he said that they went for a drink and a meal, and Tommy burst into tears because he really, really liked John and really felt a connection with him and hated the fact that this was happening. And John's marriage broke down because of the tour. There's a whole big thing. Oh, God. But anyway, Pete Davidson, didn't fucking age. He just looked the same. It was weird. Well, all the rest of the band are changing and aging with a really questionable makeup and hair department. He is just given the same outfit. It's. I mean, I'd already made my mind up before ringing you, but I'm quite glad.
It's so weird because like I did come out of it thinking, it was all right. Do you know? And obviously, I think talking over the bad parts are always going to put you in a worse position to like vote on it because you're almost thinking, hang on, I can't give this high now because I'm slating it for it being wishy-washy bullshit. But I did enjoy it. I didn't, sometimes you've got to take that into account. What was the feeling straight after watching it? I wasn't like completely like, oh, this is, the best fucking rock biopic that's ever been. But I also don't think it's the worst. And I do think there's something definitely to be said of us being big fans, probably just not happy that there's not been as much as we'd like. Probably after reading the dirt, always having an idea of how it was going to be portrayed in film. Would they have... This is what I'm saying. I'm proposing a 4-piece biopic here. And how do you cram that into a film? You don't. So it was always going to be a rush job that perhaps us as big fans were always going to turn around and go, well, you've left that out. You've left this out.
Yeah, but I feel that, right, so there's ways to do scenes to include lots. So, like, a good example of how to mishmash a load of stuff together, kind of like when you said about Bohemian Rhapsody. You mishmash a load of events together, and you're capturing a load of history, and you're also settling in the moment. A good one was when Tommy Lee punched his first fiancée. That was very clever because she did call his mum a cunt, but they had loads of anger issues built up. One of them was he was randomly washing the dishes, and she ran up and just stabbed him in the shoulder blade with a knife because she thought he was sleeping with someone else. So in that scene, he tells her to piss off, go away, get out, and then she stabs him in the shoulder blade with like a pen or something. Yeah. And then that to me was clever because then it explains why he gets so angry. And then when he punches her in the mouth, it's kind of like shocking because he punched a fucking girl in the mouth, but it's not surprising. It's not like, well, that escalated quickly. You'd be like, well, hold on, he got stabbed in the shoulder blade. That was taking a series of events in the books, compiling it together. Great. But then they didn't do that with everything else. So like when Nikki ODs, comes back home, leaves that message to say, hi, it's Nikki, I'm dead, leave a message, and then ODs again, he in the film, he wakes up and goes, man needs to go to rehab, and goes, but he didn't. Instead, Tom Zutaut or someone, the manager, rings Nicky because he goes to the hospital, finds he's not there, trying to find where he is, rings Nicky's house, notices the answering machine message has changed, so he must have gone home, goes in and finds him in a pool of his own blood in the bathroom, and he then has to call more emergency people and then demand he goes to rehab. Why did you just not include that anyway? That would have been much more powerful. And and it was just like, so I decided to get better, so I will.
Yeah, it was literally like, so Motley Crue going to rehab, and then it was like, that was it. Then they were all clean.
Yeah, I mean, some of the Mick's funniest stories are from in rehab, like saying how he would see the doctors who were telling him to stay clean out pissed on the street smoking joints like another day and stuff like that. It was in that amazing insight, but it was just, I mean, I don't know if there's anything. And also, one weird thing I was dreading about this film from the trailer was there was a lot of live performances in the trailer. And I was thinking the book isn't about live performance. It's about the sad bits and the mad bits in between. However, I don't feel there was enough live performances in this film.
And it's weird because I actually think it started off quite well. I actually do think the beginning of the film, and the only thing I will discount by saying that is I hated the first bit where it went, we lived like so many meters away from the
Whiskey Go.
That first bit, other than the bit where it showed Tommy making someone squirt, was really cringe. The bit where it goes up the window, I was thinking, this is going to be shit. I honestly thought it was going to be terrible the whole way through. I don't think that was a good opening scene at all. But I actually thought the first bit of the film, up until probably up until the Theatre of Pain bit to a certain extent, it actually didn't go too bad. The actual formation of the band I got on board with. The bit where, it had them playing in the club and they get into the fight. I thought, well, I can see what they're doing here. They're building it up. And from that, as soon as it got past the initial bit, it just suddenly skyrocketed towards the end.
Yeah.
And that was quite sad, I feel. I thought it got the pacing right up until that point, and then suddenly it was just like, I mean, I don't even feel it proper grasped Dr. Feelgood.
No, it didn't. It just made out that Dr. Feelgood was a success, but the tour was a real pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But really, what they needed to focus on was the record was a massive fucking hit, and they loved it, and they went all sorts of places and did loads of interviews, and it was only near like that they couldn't stop touring because it was like, you can't, we've actually booked more, we're booking more. But it just made out almost from the minute that they're in the studio, this record is a pain in the ass now we're sober. Weird. But what's weird is the band are all heavily involved in the film. So it's not like it's been out of their control. This is how they're quite happy with this envisage of it.
I do think it feels a little bit, I don't know, and I don't know whether we're just being overly critical because we wanted everything we wanted out of it and we've not quite got what we wanted. Is this a film for the real hardcore fans who knew everything? Probably not. This is a Netflix film. People are going to watch and go, Motley Crue are interesting, I'll bang that on.
I'll give you an idea. So it's so all over the place. IMDb 7.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes 42%.
I get confused with Rotten Tomatoes. Is 42 not good?
Yeah, 42 is not good.
Right. Okay.
That's that was my master of movies asking, is 42%?
No, because the
percentage implies if I said 42, I'd understand, but that means 42 out of 100, and you going, is 42 bad, sir?
What I mean is, because it's called Rotten Tomatoes, right? I thought if it was 42% Rotten Tomato, that's actually then 60 Oh, my maths is shit, and I work in a bank now.
58%. 58%. So do you think it's like the game Pointless or like golf, where the lower the score,
I
the
thought it
better
was the lowest,
is?
lower you scored on Rotten Tomatoes.
No, if you it's named Rotten Tomatoes because a film can be fresh or it can be rotten.
That's it. It's 42% fresh, isn't it?
You're
Not
like
42%.
movie critic. How do you not know this?
I don't go on Rotten Tomatoes for advice.
You go on IMDb all the fucking time.
IMDb is the only one I trust.
Well, that's given 7.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has given it 42%. Metacritic has given it 37%. And Google has given it 95%.
I definitely do not trust Google, by the way, because Google rate like things like fucking Batman versus Superman fucking really highly when it comes out. No one uses it other than knobs.
Well, I know where I'd rate this.
Just for any of our listeners, or probably, thousands of them, if any of you use Google to rate films, can you get in touch, please, so we can know who you are?
And block you.
We may have to exclude you.
Can you get in touch so we can't reply and therefore we have ignored you? I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It's a weird 4, though. It's a guilty pleasure 4. I had big expectations for it. I wasn't keen on how it was filmed. I thought some of the acting was shoddy, the makeup was shoddy, the camera work was shoddy. However, if you put it on, I wouldn't turn it off. But that's because probably I like the band so much. That'd be like, it's in the same vein of if you find a really grainy interview from 1984 of them like on one of the Shout at the Devil tours that's been filmed on a real piece of shit camera, and you can kind of make out what's going on. I wouldn't turn that off either. I just like to have Motley Crue going through my eyeballs or my ears, so I would just leave it on. But it wasn't for me.
Okay, I do think that's low. Like, I get why, but I think I liked more bits of it than I could give it that low. I mean, 4 for me is. I mean, I'm usually quite harsh, but I think 4 is quite low. I'd say.
I think I gave Justice League like a 4, and I kind of had the same thing. Like I enjoyed Justice League. But...
I definitely enjoyed this more than Justice League.
No, but I mean, I enjoyed Justice League, but in the sense that it was like Batman was on telly. I was happy that Batman was on telly, but I didn't think it was it should strive to be better. We should expect more, especially now music biopics are literally winning Oscars, and they are going to be the next big thing, is doing all these music biopics of all these legendary bands, and this one is just a total misstep. It's good. If this came out 10 years ago, it might have been different, but there's been so much set now that no, it's a 4 for me.
Do you know why, though, I don't think this worked? Before I rate it, I'm just going to put this out there.
Because you were sober?
No. Right? All I will say is the really good biopics, they're almost never about full bands. They're about a person in a band, and that gets focused on, right? So you think of Bohemian Rhapsody, it's the Freddie Mercury movie, really. Queen are in it. Right? And that focuses then the story very well about one person specifically and their character arc. So it isn't then the character arc of Brian May and John Taylor, which would then, how do you do that? You can't cram that into a film. And this is where I think if you had a Tommy Lee movie or a Nikki Sixx movie, it would actually play far better than throwing all of them in it, which is why I think it feels like it's too rushed, because they tried to get everyone's arc into it and it just didn't work. I think if you had a standalone Tommy Lee, Nikki Sixx movie, it would actually tell the story of Motley Crue even better than the Motley Crue film.
Yeah, from one point of view.
Yeah. And that's, I think, its biggest flaw is that it has tried too hard and tried too much, too fast. Oh, Christ.
Too
it
fast
sounds like a Motley Crue. Too much. So I would actually rate it a 6 myself. I quite liked bits. I do like Tommy Lee in it, even though I know that the story isn't great around him. I loved the bit with Ozzy Osbourne. I liked, as I say, pretty much maybe the first half of the film up until it gets to Theatre of Pain, and then I think it just lost its way completely. So I'd give it a 6. And as I said, I think obviously the music was fantastic because it is Motley Crue, so I was always going to like that part of it. I think direction-wise, it didn't do that well. And that's why I'm giving it 6.
So, big question here, because a few people might be listening to this that have grown up with us. But the reason we like Motley Crue so much is because obviously we were in a band as well, and there was some degree of emulation that we tried with them. We thought they set a good blueprint, as it were, for how you should be on stage, how you should be off stage, and like you said, it was like the Rock and Roll Bible was that book. We were just like, oh, this is possible. Let's try and do this, or let's try and top that and do that.
Yeah.
If we had a film about our band, because it went for quite some time. I was 15. I think we stopped when we were 20, maybe. So 5 years.
Officially, I would say maybe slightly after that. But
it might have been slightly after that, maybe.
Maybe like you're talking last performance being the.
I think I was 20 because I think I started playing in Blitzkrieg when I was 21. So,
I mean, I would say officially, like, we stopped doing proper gigs and proper songs at around 20, but I actually think we played our last gig, oddly enough, maybe a little bit later than that. Because it
was my 21st birthday.
Well,
it was my 21st birthday. Yeah, we reformed for one night only. Yeah, so there you go. But anyway, who would play me and you?
I don't know, because obviously I always thought, like, if someone was going to play me in a movie, it'd probably be Owen Wilson or someone. But obviously, I don't think he's going to portray 21-year-old me.
Isn't that...
So, if you're talking about... I wouldn't have a clue who would play a young me, other than a young Owen Wilson.
I feel for me, you would need several different people. Because
you could have Tina Turner at one point.
Yeah, Tina. That's. I mean, I've had so many different looks and beard styles and everything that I would put a hair and makeup department. The budget would be used on me. So I feel that we'd need to save on money just 3 different people. But the last time I asked this, a load of people just said, "Oh, Keith Richards." It's like, oh, what young Keith Richards? Went, no, Keith Richards. Like as he is now, could have played you when you were 15. Like, thanks, mate.
It's very true, though.
Yeah, brilliant. And on that bombshell, that's the end of the review. Gaz we've Skyped this using Gaz's iPhone because Gaz is without any computers at this moment in time. Is there any date on when there might be a glimmer
I'll
on the
be
horizon?
honest, right? Most of my money is going towards a holiday to Las Vegas in a month's time, so it's going to be after that before I'm back up in action properly. What I will try and do is try and get you some reviews over so that at least it can get something going on for you. But yeah, I think I'm currently living like it's the 90s and technology of phones and laptops hadn't quite come to
fruition
yet. I'm gonna have to fax you my reviews.
Oh my god, no, just whenever you can, mate, whenever's possible. But if you go in Vegas, it sounds like you need to really work up on your poker skills and maybe work on doing a Gaz's new computer fund and just see if you can get enough money. Count cards or something, just get enough to come back and buy a new computer. If you go over on the website, www.talknerdy.uk, there's obviously more spoiler reviews. There is also a review of the Heroin Diaries, the graphic novel that we did in conjunction with obviously the Dirt coming out. Nikki Sixx did a graphic novelization of his Heroin Diaries book that Gaz mentioned earlier. Is it good? read and you'll find out. And obviously, there's more stuff coming up. When do you go on holiday?
The 23rd-ish of
We're going to obviously do a Hellboy spoiler podcast, a Shazam spoiler podcast
as well.
Yeah. We don't know how we're going to do Endgame because, like you said, you're in fucking Vegas. I might have to do that solo or something because I feel like the content needs to be out. But we'll try and do a normal talk nerdy to me podcast before you go. We'll try and do a classic. Me and you sit down, trailers, news, and talk about something very, very soon. I've had a few people asking me when's the next actual podcast coming out, so it'll be soon. We'll get back on it. We've just obviously been working like dogs with all these films and Skyping. So, and
if anyone is listening, because I've got an idea for Master of Movies podcast.
Oh yeah,
someone might want to take part if they hear about it, but we're effectively doing like a quiz show format. So we need probably me, you, and then it'd be 3 other people, I guess.
Yeah.
If anyone would be interested, and if not, I'll just pick my funniest friends.
all one of them.
All 3 of them.
Yeah, my funniest friends, all 3 of them. The only 3 I know. All right. On that note, I've been JB.
What's happened, dear?
Gaz, are you all right, mate?
Hello.
I'm still here, dude. Are you okay? Right. Are we having an elderly moment? What the fuck was that?
I think I'm in a bunker. I think this Brexit thing.
Have you been wandering around? Have you just been talking into your phone, wandering around the streets of Liverpool, not looking where you're going?
I've got 80 loaves of bread. I am ready.
Right. I've been JB.
I've been Gaz.
And we've been talking nerdy.
Keep talking nerdy.
More sex, more tats, more blood, more pain, more threats, more fast, torn jeans, cocaine, more pretty strippers.